The UFC is famous for its excellent matchmaking, especially in title battles, but there have been situations in the past where some champions have gotten so dominant that just about anyone against them is sure to be a huge underdog. Despite all the odds stacked against them, these underdogs have occasionally managed to pull off unexpected victories. Stay tuned because today we'll go over 5 of the best underdog championship victories in UFC history. Starting off at number 5 is Chris Weidman versus Anderson Silva from UFC 162. At his peak, Anderson Silva was one of the world's best mixed martial artists. In the UFC middleweight category, he destroyed guys like Rich Franklin and Dan Henderson, who were regarded as the absolute best in the business. In addition to winning and defending the UFC middleweight championship, Silva briefly competed as a light heavyweight. The closest he has ever come to losing was in a rather difficult match against Chael Sonnen, and so most fans and members of the media assumed that this matchup against a young prospect named Chris Weidman would be business as usual for the Spider. But Silva was in for a surprise. Even from the start of the match, he was being a little cocky. He didn't even touch the gloves of the opponent at the start of the match, which is a customary thing for any fight. Both Chris and Silva were trying to find the right moment to make the strike. Silva tried to taunt Weidman by kicking him and punching him as if to show he was invincible. He also tried to kick Chris, but he dodged it by moving to the back. All this overconfidence got the best of him in the end, though, because he lowered his defense way too much. Chris waited for the perfect opportunity to go for the strike, and after he saw an opening in Silva's defense, he went in and got the hit he needed. Weidman's punch landed perfectly, knocking his opponent out. Up next, number 4, Rose Namajunas versus Joanna Jędrzejczyk from UFC 217. Given Rose Namajunas' current popularity, it's strange to think she was once a great underdog in her title match against Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Jędrzejczyk had a 14-0 unblemished record before UFC 217. She defeated notable rivals like Jessica Andrade, Carla Esparza, and Claudia Gadelha. Namajunas, on the other hand, was 6-3 and had experienced some consistency issues. When the two fighters squared up, Jędrzejczyk acted quite aggressively, constantly getting in Namajunas' face and insulting her. The Lord's Prayer was all Namajunas could do to respond. This strongly suggested that Jędrzejczyk was the more powerful of the two going into the match as a significant favorite. But Namajunas would almost immediately put any skeptics to rest when she eliminated her opponent in the first round. Rose made small strikes at first. When she successfully cornered Jędrzejczyk near the wall, she threw a strong left jab to the chin. This knocked the opponent out of her senses. She later defeated Jędrzejczyk once more in their rematch. Moving on to number 3 is Michael Bisping versus Luke Rockhold from UFC 199. Michael Bisping's career has already been the subject of a movie, and his title-winning match against Luke Rockhold is the stuff movies are made of. After Luke Rockhold decisively defeated Michael Bisping in 2014, many people thought the Englishman's prospects of winning the title were over, but Bisping engaged in a fight on short notice in 2016 that completely altered his life. The UFC wanted to schedule middleweight champion Luke Rockhold in a rematch against Chris Weidman. Due to Weidman's withdrawal from the contest due to neck injury, UFC 199's main event would only feature one fighter. When they first tried to get Jakar Souza to intervene, he declined, citing the fight's short notice as reason. They instead went to Michael Bisping, who was preoccupied with pursuing a career in movies. With only 2 weeks' notice, Bisping agreed to face his old rival, and predictably, he entered the matchup as a heavy underdog in the betting, following up with how did it all go down. As the match started, we saw that Bisping was on the defensive. He didn't want to go out like last time, so he was taking precautions seriously. On the other side, Luke was quite offensive. He was confident in his fighting style, his skills, and his versatility. It started with some light sparring from both the fighters as the two tried to find each other's weaknesses. Luke, from the start, resorted to more kicks due to his slight height advantage. Bisping made small strikes now and then, which were usually near the face. He had a high strike rate. That's pretty much how his fighting style works. He takes a lot of small strikes from a bunch of different angles. Luke has a very strong left leg, so he kicked his opponent several times to make him back off from all the strikes he was throwing out, but Bisping wasn't planning to budge. Then Luke switched up his strategy and became highly offensive. He tried making strikes to move Bisping near the cage walls. Luke was quite confident about his offense. He moved in to make a right hook to Bisping's jaw, but that didn't make him lose his senses. Instead, Bisping counterattacked with one strong right hook to the body and then a left hook over the top to the chin. Rockhold went dizzy and fell to the ground, but managed to recover immediately. Bisping went on with another left hook to the face, and this is when Luke fell on the wall of the octagon. While he was down, Bisping made 3 strong strikes to his face, finishing his opponent. Next up is number 2, Matt Serra versus Georges St-Pierre from UFC 69. Undoubtedly, one of the most stunning events in UFC history was Matt Serra's legendary title-winning victory over Georges St-Pierre. Depending on your preferences, this could be a worthy contender for the first spot on our list. Georges St-Pierre was one of the most powerful competitors in any MMA company at the time. He had a 13-1 record and had defeated Sean Sherk, BJ Penn, and Matt Hughes. Matt Serra had a 9-4 record overall and a 3-3 record in his past 6 professional matches. He had, however, also triumphed in the most recent season of The Ultimate Fighter, giving him a chance to challenge for the 170-pound title. With his excellent wrestling and punching, George St. Pierre was enforcing his dominance in the welterweight class. Few believed Serra would succeed against GSP in any one area because he was primarily a grappler. Naturally, Serra went on to eliminate St. Pierre after that. He delivered an overhand right that immediately sent Rush to the ground. John McCarthy was compelled to intervene and end the bout due to persistent pressure and a barrage of strikes. Following on how the fight went down. At the start of the match, Serra was a bit on the offensive side, while St. Pierre was resorting more to using kicks. Serra wasn't striking small punches either. He threw his whole strength into his punches, but the problem was that due to the height difference, landing a punch to knock his opponent out was quite challenging. St. Pierre was still going strong with the kicks, and so Matt made a strike which George tried to evade, but the dodge was unsuccessful. One of the left hooks landed St. Pierre and did quite a lot of damage. St. Pierre stumbled as he lost his balance. To recover, he moved some steps back, but Serra would not lose that chance. He landed more punches on St. Pierre, due to which he dropped to his knees once more. Struggling to recover from the blows, George stood up and tried to push back his opponent, but it wasn't of much use. Matt continued to land more strikes on his opponent, making it so George completely lost his balance as he was struggling to defend himself. Finally, when St. Pierre dropped, Serra made sure to complete the job. He let hell loose and threw in what seemed like an infinite amount of punches straight to the face. St. Pierre had finally had enough of it, and he tapped out of the fight, bringing it to his inevitable conclusion. Finally, in the number 1 spot, Holly Holm versus Ronda Rousey from UFC 193. Ronda Rousey formerly had an air of invincibility that's now credited to fighters like Amanda Nunes and Valentina Shevchenko. The UFC welcomed the Olympic judoka as the division's first women's bantamweight champion in 2013. She soon accumulated 6 consecutive UFC championship defenses and was regarded as one of the roster's top draws. Few gave Holly Holm more than a remote chance when the UFC matched her up with Ronda Rousey to headline their debut show in Melbourne, Australia. Holm had only twice participated in the UFC before this, losing to opponents Raquel Pennington and Marion Renault by razor-thin margins. UFC fans all across the globe were in shock when Holm knocked Rousey out cold in the second round. The two had very different approaches to how they handled the fight, and in the end, Holm's strategy proved to be superior. The head kick knockout that ended the fight was just stunning. That's a wrap for this video. Which underdog champion's win was the best? Comment below, give the video a thumbs up, and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this, and we'll see you in the next one.
That jab early. Knocked down for Oliveira. Now a knee to the body for Charles. Well, Rose. Another knockdown. Rose Namajunas trying to close the show.
She was doing a great job.
And again, Derek hurt bad. He's back.